If you grew up in the 90s, Starbucks wasn't just a coffee shop, it was a religion. It was the third place, a cozy sanctuary between work and home that smelled like roasted beans and felt human. But walk into a Starbucks today, and you don't feel connection. You feel anxiety. You see a counter crowded with delivery drivers. You hear printers screaming out mobile orders. And you see exhausted baristas fighting for their lives against an assembly line of milkshakes. In 2024, the invincible brand finally crashed. The stock collapsed. The CEO was fired. But Starbucks didn't die because we stopped drinking coffee. It died because they traded the third place for a factory floor. This is the story of how the world's coolest brand sold its soul for sugar and speed. To feel the weight of this tragedy, you have to go back to the dream. In 1983, Howard Schultz walked into a tiny espresso bar in Milan, Italy. He didn't just see caffeine, he saw theater. He watched the barista moving with the grace of a dancer, grinding beans, pulling shots by hand. There was a romance to it. The barista knew your name. It wasn't a transaction, it was a relationship. When Schultz built Starbucks, he established strict, almost religious rules to protect that soul. He refused to buy automatic machines because they blocked the customer's view of the barista. He famously said, "If we lose eye contact, we lose the company." He even banned hot sandwiches because the smell of burning cheese would ruin the delicate aroma of the coffee. He wasn't optimizing for throughput. He was optimizing for romance, and it worked. Starbucks became the most valuable restaurant brand on earth because it offered something McDonald's couldn't: dignity. But then, the founders left, and the consultants took over. The rot accelerated in 2023, when the board hired a strategy expert to save the company, Laxman Narasimhan. Laxman was a brilliant man, on paper, a McKinsey veteran, the ultimate data guy. But hiring a spreadsheet CEO to run an emotional brand is usually a death sentence. Laxman walked into Starbucks and didn't feel the magic. He saw a spreadsheet of inefficiencies. He launched a grand strategy, the triple shot reinvention. It sounds impressive, right? The plan was ruthless: boost mobile orders, cut labor costs, and optimize throughput. But in the real world, this strategy created a monster. They pushed the mobile app until it hit 30% of sales. Statistically, it worked. But physically, the stores broke. Starbucks cafes were designed as lounges, not fulfillment centers. The beautiful wooden counter became a mosh pit, a chaotic holding pen where 30 strangers stand in silence, shoulders touching, staring at their phones, waiting for a sticker with their name on it. And here is where the consultant mindset committed its greatest sin. When Laxman saw the overcrowding, he didn't make the stores bigger. He removed the furniture. Under his watch, thousands of stores were renovated to rip out the comfortable chairs. Why? Because a customer sitting down isn't buying anything. To a McKinsey consultant, a student reading a book is a waste of space. They treated customers like units to be processed, and the soul left the building. With the third place dead, the real coffee lovers left for local cafes. So, Starbucks had to pivot. They stopped being a coffee company and became a sugar factory. If you look at the menu today, it is barely recognizable. They aren't selling cappuccinos. They are selling liquid candy. And this brings us to the first smoking gun, the complexity. There are now 383 billion possible combinations of lattes you can order: cold foam, caramel drizzle, pumps of chai, oat milk, freeze-dried fruit. Starbucks encouraged this because every extra pump costs 80 cents. Customizations became a billion-dollar business. But they forgot the physics of time. Making a venti iced brown sugar oat milk shaken espresso with cold foam is a chemistry experiment, not a drink. The triple shot strategy demanded speed, but the menu demanded complexity. The result was gridlock. Customers were trapped in line for 20 minutes, staring at the pickup screen, watching their life tick away. And while the stores burned, the innovation kitchen at corporate was completely out of touch. In 2024, while customers begged for faster service, Laxman's team launched their big idea: oleato, olive oil, in coffee. It sounds like a parody, but they bet millions on it. Customers hated the taste. Reports claimed it was giving people digestive issues. It was the perfect symbol of the era. The executives were chasing data trends like healthy fats, while the customers just wanted their coffee to not taste like a salad. But the real victim of this factory strategy wasn't the customer. It was the employee. Remember, Schultz called them partners. He gave them dignity. But under the new regime, the barista is no longer an artist. They are a factory worker. To handle the 383 billion combinations without hiring more staff, corporate turned to the ultimate efficiency tool: the Siren System. This is a machine designed to shave seconds off the workflow. It automatically doses milk and ice. But it forces baristas to work like robots, pulling shots and steaming milk in a specific, timed sequence to feed the algorithm. The human connection was replaced by a stopwatch. Corporate tracks out the window times down to the second. If a barista spends 30 seconds chatting with a regular, that is inefficiency. They took the people who loved coffee and turned them into fleshy extensions of the espresso machine. Is it any wonder that baristas started unionizing in record numbers? It wasn't just about money. It was about burnout. They were being asked to manufacture complex chemicals at the speed of light, while being screamed at by customers whose mobile orders were late. Starbucks created a high-stress, low-joy environment, and you can't fake warmth. If the barista is miserable, the coffee tastes miserable. By the summer of 2024, the bill for the factory strategy finally came due, and it was ugly. For years, the consultants promised that efficiency would lead to profit, but they were wrong. In a shocking quarterly report, the truth came out. Global sales fell. Traffic in the US didn't just slow down, it shrank. Customers weren't just complaining on TikTok, they were actually leaving. Wall Street, who usually loves a good spreadsheet, panicked. The stock price nosedived, hitting lows we hadn't seen in years. Suddenly, the sharks began to circle. Activist investors, the corporate raiders of the finance world, bought up huge chunks of the company, demanding immediate changes. They saw what we saw: a premium brand charging premium prices for a fast food experience. The board of directors had no choice. The experiment was over. In August 2024, the axe fell. Laxman Narasimhan was fired. And then, something unprecedented happened. The moment the news broke, before his replacement even said a word, Starbucks stock shot up 24% in a single day. The market added $20 billion in value. Just because the spreadsheet era was over, that is how much Wall Street hated the loss of soul. And in a twist of irony that you almost couldn't write, the man they hired to save the coffee shop is Brian Niccol, the CEO of Chipotle. Think about that. To fix the brand that lost its way by acting like a fast food joint, they hired the king of fast food. The man who perfected the burrito assembly line is now in charge of saving the romance of the espresso bar. Now, Niccol is saying the right things. He released a letter saying, "We need to get back to being a coffee house." He wants to bring back the ceramic mugs. He wants to separate the pickup area from the lounge. He wants to bring back the third place. But the question remains, is it too late? Starbucks spent 10 years building a machine designed for speed, not comfort. Can you unautomate a factory? Can you tell a generation of customers addicted to sugar and convenience to slow down and appreciate the smell of roasted beans? Can you convince a burnt-out workforce that you actually care about them? Starbucks is at a crossroads. They can either shrink, close thousands of stores, and find their soul again, or they can accept their fate as the McDonald's of caffeine. The $100 billion lesson is simple. You can measure throughput, you can measure margin, but you cannot measure cool, and you certainly cannot automate love. But what do you think? Can the Chipotle guy save the ship? Or have you already switched to your local cafe? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching.